you have to conform to, else they will put you into a little box. So if you haven't been living under a rock, you might have seen the Epstein files. And don't you think it's weird that the people that are supposed to take care of our needs, that are supposed to govern us in a meaningful way, in a democratic way, are all part of this odd group that you don't really speak of? But all of them, they know each other. All of them, they have a similar background. All of them come from the same universities or academies or young leaders program as you would find at the WEF. Now, technically, there's not an issue with that. But practically, there's a lot of issues with that, because what happens here is that there seems to be two classes of people before the law. There's the governing class, and they can do whatever they want. It's very hard for them to actually be held accountable. And then there's the regular class, there's us. And whenever we even attempt to speak our mind, we actually might run into issues with our jobs, with our livelihoods, with our friends and our families. But don't you think it's kind of weird that this odd two-tier system exists? I'm a psychologist, and you are watching Free Will Transmission. So while the governing class is taking vacation on Epstein's island and doing whatever they want, regardless of what the law says, which you have to conform to, else they will put you into a little box. Make sure you don't say the wrong things on social media, or you get arrested, so you don't say the wrong things at your job, or you might get fired and they take away your livelihood, or you don't speak up in public, because defying the accepted opinion might get you ostracized. There seems to be this odd phenomenon. It's very hard to define this concept. Let's call it the forgetting. You hear something on the news, something that outrages you, like the Epstein files. There's something that you think that can't happen, something has to be done, that doesn't work that way. But a couple of weeks pass, a couple of news cycles pass, and you seem to care less and less, and it kind of slips your mind, and somehow it loses relevance. A good example would be Assange or Snowden. Like, they had revelations, everybody was outraged, but now a couple of years later, nobody cares anymore. Only very few, very dedicated people will still actively follow that and actively try to change something. Everybody else just kind of moved on with their lives. I'm willing to bet exactly the same thing will happen with the Epstein files. Now people are outraged. Now people are betting on who's in the files. Now people are trying to find out who has been where and who visited the island. But at the end of the day, nothing will happen, because people simply stop caring. People care about comfort. People care about their individual world that very often is very limited. And I know there's this idea that in psychology you would call learned helplessness, like, I can't change it anyway, so why would I care? Perhaps you could even argue there's a stoic perspective to that. But as long as everybody thinks this way, nothing will change. Nothing will change. This two-tier system of regular people and the governing class will keep existing. And so will two-tier justice. And so will two-tier opportunities. But it's not just that people stop caring or people feel like they can't change it anyway, so why bother? Whenever there's something important happening, whenever there are big revelations, whenever there is something that should grab people's attention, something else happens that's very big, capturing people's attention. Maybe some celebrity did something. It will be the headline of all the newspapers, but the actually important thing will be buried if mentioned at all. This is also kind of a manipulation. And another part is that in today's world, in order to get clicks and to get everything, mainstream newspapers really have resorted not to actual journalism, but to clickbaiting. You need outrageous articles that are polarizing, that are mainly infuriating people, because then people will come back, people will fill the comment sections, people will be interacting. And interaction is very good for advertisers. And if advertisers are happy, the newspaper is happy. The quality of the journalism actually has declined steadily, because that's how the business model works now. And because media works this way, you kind of get tired of this outrage. Not everything is the most terrible or the most interesting thing that has ever happened, because you kind of someone learn to filter through all that fluff, through all that attention-grabbing slop. And due to all that slop getting pushed on you, having headlines being outragey, being clickbaity, you get something that psychology calls outrage fatigue. You're kind of tired of being outraged all the time about everything. It's why what worked 10 years ago, just be mad about something and you will have a huge movement, doesn't work anymore, because people are tired of it. And for the most part, that's good, because it means you are not as easily sucked in with some weird headline of some tabloid that honestly should not even be used to wipe your ass. But this also works very well to kind of make you forget or make you care less about things you actually should be outraged about. Because let's be honest, 99.9% of all the things that media tells you should be outraged of, you can ignore. Nothing will happen. Your life will not change if you ignore this. So now, you have some revelation, like the Epstein files, and you see outrage everywhere. On YouTube, on X, even in some newspapers. But you feel like you're kind of tired of all this outrage, because it's something that now you care for. Now you kind of read and you kind of follow it, and you kind of hope that the people that are mentioned in those files will be brought to justice. But I guarantee you, very little, if anything, will happen to those people, because we're playing this two-tier system. This is the class that is making the rules. It's like Machiavelli said, if you're not being ruthless, you will be obeying something that is ruthless. And if you're following the rules, you will have a boss that doesn't, because the person that broke the rules rose to the position to make the rules. And this is kind of what we're seeing here. I mean, if a regular Joe did anything that is mentioned in the Epstein files, he would be in prison for years, for decades, and rightfully so. But most people that went there, nothing will happen. So this whole story has enraged you, but you kind of feel like you can't do anything about it. Social media is calming down on this topic because it's not as engaging anymore. It's not generating that many views and clicks anymore. So it's not lucrative anymore for platforms to push that on you. So now the news cycle moves on. It will tell you about sports. It will tell you about celebrity gossip. It will tell you about some local politician that has lied to you, because that's usually what politicians do. They overpromise and underdeliver. It's kind of in their job description. And there's another psychological concept that will kind of help this cycle of forgetting, this global moving on from important topics. It's availability heuristics. The outcome that is easiest for you to come up with an example or something you've recently heard that is more top of mind, more available to you, you deem more likely and closer to the truth, regardless of whether it actually is, because you usually don't have the exact statistics on everything. So this means that you feel this whole issue with the Epstein files are less and less of a big deal the less you hear about it, because it's less top of mind and other things will take that place. And that's very good for the people involved in such activities, because those mechanisms will lead to the focus shifting away from the governing class and returning to your immediate surroundings. It will be much easier to tribalize people again, splintering to tiny groups that can be pitched against each other. It's a classic approach of divide and conquer. If you're busy worrying about your neighbor's lawn or some local politician lying again, it's very easy for the actual governing classes to do whatever they want. And this is why we should not engage in those petty quarrels. Think about so many things that make you mad. So many things that annoy you, so many things that outrage you. Do they have an actual impact on your life? Do they actually mean something? If your neighbor's lawn is a bit too high, what impact does that have on the grand scale of your life? On the other hand, if the people supposed to govern you make your laws, shape those laws for their profit and for their friends' profits, that actually has a direct impact on your life and on your ability to thrive and on your ability to be free. Because just the idea that in a democracy there are people making laws for their friends rather than for the demos, the people, kind of defeats the purpose, right? So you go vote for people that go play with their buddies and leave you with the scraps at best. And the things that actually do matter, the things that actually impinge on your freedom, you choose to ignore because you can't do anything about them. Because you could argue, if you just accept it because you can't do anything, it's fine if they do it, right? Because if there are no consequences, there's no reason not to do it. That should be kept in mind the next elections or whatever. Think about all the people that had anything to do with, for example, the Epstein files and just categorically do not vote for them. If you see corruption, if you see nepotism, there is no reason to think they wouldn't do it again. If a government agency has overstepped their boundaries, say they engaged in illegal mass surveillance, and now they say, oh, they won't do it anymore. There's no reason to believe they won't do it anymore because they did it in the first place. They will just find another less obvious way. Mind the psychological mechanisms that work against you in your mind. It's availability heuristics, it's outrage fatigue, and it's groupthink. Because people in groups make worse choices than people on their own. Which again, if I can keep you in a splintered group that is angry on some other group, you will make poorer choices for you and your mind, for you and your life, kind of by definition. So all those psychological mechanisms are used against you. And if you take anything from this video, it's be mindful. As long as we let each other be divided, as long as we play the games, we give away our freedom. We give away our mental capacity to make choices that benefit us and our families and our loved ones and the people we care about. And we give away our free will, because the last conscious decision we made is to just go with the flow and just consume whatever we're being fed. Because if you really pay attention, the game is not that hard to see through. You just need to refuse to play, because free will is an act of rebellion. If you made it this far, thank you very much for watching my video. I hope you like it. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or what you would like to see next time. Also, sign up for my newsletter. Link in the description. It's the best way for us to stay in contact. And thank you very much for watching this free will transmission.